Bismillahir-Rahmanir-Rahim. My fellow Pakistanis, the announcement by the Election Commission of Pakistan to have all polling stations supervised by Pakistan Army personnel is indeed an acknowledgement of the failure of the Election Commission of Pakistan. It is an acknowledgement of the failure of the interim government. Yes, that is an admission of failure. And in fact, it implies a failure of the Constitution of Pakistan. Pakistan Army is the most honored and most respected institution of Pakistan. Asking the army to play such a role in politics, not only that is unconstitutional, it is already creating serious doubts and mistrust over the character of neutrality of Pakistan Army. This has hurt the image of Army in the past. This will further tarnish the image of Pak Army as a neutral body. Whereas the Election Commission of Pakistan, the Chief Justice and the caretaker government have admitted their failure to conduct fair and impartial elections under the Constitution, I have risen today to make a radically different proposal to General Bajwa, the highly respected Chief of Pakistan's Armed Forces. I propose that the Election Commission of Pakistan be immediately dissolved and the Chief Election Commissioner resign. So should the caretaker government, and elections be held after a process of cleansing the polluted and stinking political system of Pakistan through a 100-day period of martial law. That is the need of the time. There has been no accountability. We have just been hearing cases for the past 2 years. This stinking swamp of corruption needs to be drained before elections. Neither the Election Commission of Pakistan, nor the Chief Justice, nor the interim government have any constitutional authority to do that. Pakistan's current electoral process, it has become a highly corrupt process, and it has made it impossible for the common man to participate in elections. Impossible. Pakistan needs serious election reforms before it spends money, time, and energy on elections. To begin with, first of all, Pakistan needs to abolish this candidature fee, this exorbitant candidature fee for the candidates who are simply standing on party tickets. As a leader of a political party that represents the poor, I will give you a first-hand account of this highly corrupt process. No wonder this corrupt process brings forth a government of the corrupt, by the corrupt, and for the corrupt. It is not a people's government. As I talk today, I am trying to publicly seek redress of my grievance from General Bajwa, Commander-in-Chief of Pakistan's Armed Forces. Why cannot Pakistan have just one more martial law of just 100 days to put Pakistan back on the track of honesty? I am Dr. Asarulislam, Syed, President of Jannat Pakistan Party, a legitimate political party in Pakistan. I raised this party using my own money over a period of 10 years. my own money earned through sweat and toil to give power to the people of Pakistan, to liberate them from the shackles of these 200 or so corrupt politicians who are blood-sucking parasites who have been circulating in the veins of Pakistan's economy and Pakistan's political system. Year after year, these parasites have been changing their hosts. Year after year, going from one party to the other. Currently, Mr. Imran Khan, the most desperate wannabe prime minister, he is the host of most of these vampires whom he reveres as his so-called electables. I want to bring to light the fundamental unfairness of Pakistan's election system. This is so unfair. 41 years ago, Pakistan's wonderful democracy was hijacked and derailed by General Ziaul Haq in 1977 through a martial law. And for 41 years, the process continues to be corrupted. You, General Bajwa, you, sir, you can put Pakistan's democracy back on the track. And that can happen only through a martial law. I'll give you details of my recommendations. This country will be eternally grateful. It will be eternally grateful to you if you take to heart my very sincere advice. You, more than anybody else, you owe this to Pakistan. Pakistan's electoral process has been corrupted beyond description. It is a dreadful scenario. I have been seeing it as an informed player in this game. Permit me to say, you, General Bajwa, and your establishment, you are blunderously miscalculating the aftermath of the elections. And you will not be the first military general who has miscalculated. Here is the rest of the story. On 31st of May, I announced that Jannat Pakistan Party had prepared itself to participate in Pakistan's elections. We were ready to field candidates from all over Pakistan. On 2nd of June, I delivered a speech. It was viewed on Facebook alone by over 60,000 people. I had called candidates to come forth for elections. Some close to over 240 potential candidates contacted me. These candidates were highly enlightened, highly patriotic, most of them youth under the ages of 35. I interviewed each one of them. Each excelled the other in brilliance, in patriotism, and in their desire to see Pakistan on the road to progress like the rest of the nations of the world. Each one of them hated the corrupt politicians. Each one of them said Imran Khan had cheated them. They called Khan a characterless monster who had hijacked Pakistan's politics. Each one of them grieved over the passivity and helplessness of Pakistan army. Each one of them said, Pakistan army is paving way for Imran Khan. That Pak army wanted Khan so as to blackmail the United States of America through a powerful Taliban Khan. Let me advise you, General Bajwa and your colleagues, this is a wrong policy. It is an immoral, unethical policy. And besides, this ain't going to work anymore. These are Trump times. Here is the rest of the story. The Election Commission, of its own accord, without getting any approval from the people of Pakistan, raised the filing fee for candidature to rupees 30,000 for National Assembly. The youth, they say we cannot afford this filing fee. हम गरीब लोग हैं, हम कहां से ये पैसे लाएं? On top of that, Mia Saqib Nisar issued a template of an affidavit that requires a candidate to open a new bank account and show that he has a certain minimum amount in the account. We were told by the returning officer in Karachi that candidates were expected to spend close to a minimum of 45 lakh rupees. You see how this process has made it impossible for the common man to participate in this farce called elections. It sets up candidates to bribe and to buy votes. It is illegal, it is unethical, unconstitutional, immoral. The worst thing is that the returning officers in banks are asking for bribes to process paperwork. The lawyers are asking for a fee to help mitigate this process. Let me ask this question. What good is an affidavit when you are unable to give any consequences to those who have lied on oath? If Nawaz Sharif and Imran Khan were both permitted to go scot-free by the Supreme Court of Pakistan, despite their lies on oath, what good is this so-called affidavit? This affidavit is a joke. It symbolizes a total failure of executive authority. And next, as we talk of the failures of the Election Commission, just take a good look at the website of the Election Commission of Pakistan. It is such an amateur, childish website. There are some 30,000 high schools in the United States of America. Even the high schools in USA, they have a better, more up-to-date, and more functional website than the website of the Election Commission of Pakistan. It is a shame. And look at the budget and resources of the Election Commission of Pakistan. What have they been doing for the past 5 years? They are an independent body. If they could unilaterally raise the filing fees, why could they not come up with a system of fair and impartial elections? The answer to this question is because Election Commission of Pakistan works on an agenda which is not the agenda of fairness and impartiality. They plan the elections and its rules according to their self-serving agenda, according to their biases and unfairness. What else is the reason that the election process could not be sorted out months before the elections? Election Commission of Pakistan is indeed a biased and crooked body. Pakistan killed democracy when Ziaul Haq took over the country and promised fair elections in 90 days. Zia corrupted democracy, and from that day, Pakistan has been on this path of votes for money corruption for 41 years now. It is time for the army to restore democracy in all its purity and honesty. Pakistan needs a Qaid-e-Azam, a leader. How do rest of the countries in the world have a leader, a Qaid-e-Azam? How is Pakistan going to have another Qaid-e-Azam? It is through fair and impartial elections. The former Chief of Army Staff, General Mirza Aslam Beg, just a few days ago, he is on record to have said that it was he who approved General Durrani to disburse rupees 148 crores amongst politicians to bribe and win the 1990 elections in the country. He's on record to have said that. A corrupt democracy, which I have been calling Jarneli Jamhuriyat, this corrupt democracy corrupts the character of the citizens instead of building it. And on top of that, it consumes a lot of money and a lot of energy. That is why the glorious image of Pak Army stands tarnished today. It is time for Pak Army and its leadership to step up and undo the damage it has done to Pakistan. This is called Tawbah, to undo the damage done. For once, just for once, undo the damage done by the army to Pakistan's electoral system. We can say 100 bad things about General Yahya Khan, but one thing is on record. He took over the country and held fair elections. Today, once again, by establishing a Pakistan Army Election Reforms Commission with new rules and regulations based on the principles of equality and equal opportunity to all citizens, Pak Army and Pak Army alone can restore its own image and can restore the power to the people of Pakistan. Pakistan yearns for democracy. Pakistan yearns for leadership. Of course, this shall need imposition of a ruthless martial law for just 100 days. A martial law that can uproot corruption and give consequences to the corrupt people, and also bring real and serious electoral reforms, enabling the common man to participate in elections. It is my belief that General Bajwa, you, sir, can step up and act as a brave and capable general that you are. Pakistan has a great precedence of martial law that was promulgated by the great General Ayub Khan in 1958. Pakistan's military intelligence has always professed about its omnipresence and omnipotency, that they know everything about Pakistan. No, they don't. As a politician, I have been in day-to-day contact, direct contact with the disgruntled activists of Pakistan. The ground reality is that just 6 months ago, under pressure from President Trump, hundreds of trained terrorists that were allegedly working for Pakistan Army, they were abruptly abandoned by Pakistan Army. Just as the Americans had abruptly abandoned the Taliban in the 1990s without foreseeing the consequences. Similarly, Pak Army indeed has abandoned thousands of such individuals just over the past 6 months. So the question is, where are they now? I know where they are. These jobless youth who were members of Lashkar-e-Dawa and Lashkar-e-Tayyaba and Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan, they now have been recruited on salaries by the political parties. I know this for sure. Several members of my party, Jannat Pakistan Party, were approached by these jobless youth. They were looking for jobs. They said that such and such party or its politician was ready to pay them rupees 50,000 salary a month. Yes, they were bargaining with me. They have now been hired by the so-called electables. That is what makes them electables. They have the money to pay and they have the power to hire these terrorists. These electables, and they are just 200 of them, they are at the very root of sponsoring terrorism in Pakistan. It is a fundamental policy of Jannat Pakistan Party that we do not allow party membership to individuals who have had any connection with a terrorist organization. In fact, Jannat Pakistan Party had to expel some of its founder members of the party who were suspected to have developed connections or sympathy towards such terrorist organizations. Although our respected General Ghafoor of the ISPR, he claims that there are no terrorist cells anymore in Pakistan, the fact is that these terrorists are now on the payroll of several political parties, especially those that boast of having electables. Massive amounts of arms and ammunition have been stored in various terrorist hideouts in Lahore, in Karachi, and in Rawalpindi. I want you, General Bajwa, you sir, I want you to wake up now. It will be useless to impose a martial law after the elections. Now is the time. I want you, General Bajwa, to wake up now. Pakistan is heading towards a civil war. The enemies of Pakistan want to enfeeble and humble Pakistan through this election. And they are working very hard to achieve this goal. The hopeless people of Pakistan, they are not at all looking for politicians to help them. They trust Pak Army. And they are looking at the army. Pakistan is headed for a chaos, and the people are looking towards the Pak Army to help them. General Bajwa, you owe this to the people of Pakistan. You owe this to the people of Pakistan to restore an honest character to democracy in Pakistan. You need to fulfill the promise that was made 41 years ago. You need to fulfill the promise of holding fair and impartial elections. A promise that was made upon the honor of Pakistan Army by General Ziaul Haq in 1977, 41 years ago. You need to fulfill that promise. That promise was never fulfilled. And since that date, Pakistan Army stands disrespected. The army has to earn its respect by genuinely fulfilling its promise. Many politicians and political parties of Pakistan today, who are they? They are simply the illegitimate children created by Ziaul Haq and other uniform-wearing manipulators of Pakistan's politics. Pakistan has suffered for 41 years from such illegitimate creations. Pakistan looks up to you, General Bajwa, sir. It looks up to you to rise and restore Pakistan's honor. It is my belief that where there is a will to hold honest and impartial elections, where there is a will to be an honest and impartial judge, then there is a way to restore democracy to Pakistan. And this needs to happen in letter and spirit. Rise and impose a martial law with a commitment to restore power to the honest and hard-working people of Pakistan. In just 100 days, and not a day more. The Election Commission of Pakistan and the judiciary, they are a powerless, helpless body with no executive powers to give consequences to the corrupt politicians. Only Pakistan Army can act to eradicate corruption. General Bajwa, you need to rise and help Pakistan now. Get us rid of Mia Saqib Nisar Sahib, who commands no respect in Pakistan. Each time Mia Saqib Nisar opens his mouth, people look at it as biased. And it is obvious he is seeking to win cheap popularity. He has a terribly guilty conscience, which is why he has failed to exhibit any executive authority. Mia Saqib Nisar is an insult to the name of Pakistan's judiciary. Look, General Bajwa Sahab, look what the great Ayub Khan did and why he is respected. In August 1959, Ayub Khan passed the Electoral Body's Disqualification Order, EBDO, Electoral Body's Disqualification Order. Under this martial law order, 75 political leaders were disqualified for participating in political activities for 8 years. This is what needs to be done now. Number one, promulgate a 100-day martial law with a promise to hold elections in 100 days and not a day more. Number two, ruthlessly, with main and might, impose ban on all political activities for a period of 45 days only. Just 45 days. Number three, impose a ruthless censorship on Pakistan's corrupted media. For just 60 days, these media anchors and these media institutions, they are pimps and prostitutes hired by Pakistan's corrupted democracy. The people of Pakistan who are on social media, the common man who are spread worldwide, they will only be too happy to support your martial law, which has long been due. Number four, arrest all such politicians who have been in Pakistan's courts with various charges. Nawaz Sharif, Zardari and Imran Khan, each one of them have serious corruption cases against them, which needs executive authority to give them consequences. In 1959, 75 Pakistani politicians, 75 were arrested and banned. Order was restored in Pakistan, and that martial law saved Pakistan. That martial law of 1959. Remember, General Bajwa, none of these politicians today is more respected and more powerful what Hussain Shaheed Sohrawardi was in 1959. Sohrawardi and 74 other politicians were arrested from all over Pakistan under the electoral body's disqualification order. That is what we need today. Point number 5, during the first half of the 100-day period, develop a fair and impartial system of elections that promises to give equal opportunity to all citizens of Pakistan. Make a commitment to establish a government of the people, by the people, and for the people. If India can do that and the rest of the countries of the world can do that, Pakistan can do that too. Point number 6, set up a three-member Elections Reform Commission. Let 3 unbiased, patriotic officers of the armed forces of Pakistan Let them publicly proclaim their impartiality and patriotism on oath. Let the Military Election Reforms Commission provide a clear definition, first of all, of what is a national political party. Give accreditation to parties that can qualify and earn the title of being national political parties. Identify these national parties. Encourage all of these patriotic national political parties with malice towards none, with charity towards all. A political party, in order to qualify as a national party, it must have a political manifesto, a transparent bank account, and the presence of at least one political office in Pakistan. Political parties failing to meet these criteria, they must not qualify as national political parties. Use the model of a licensed facility such as a hospital. To qualify as a hospital, there are certain criteria that must be met in order to win that accreditation. Similarly, the commission must set up criteria for a political party to qualify as a national political party. Presently, there are 103 political parties in Pakistan. It is a joke. Most of these parties do not even have an office that has ever been visited by the Election Commission of Pakistan. Most of these parties are not national parties, but are limited to a street or a mohalla. There are some political parties who are there only to make bargains, last-minute bargains. Some sell party tickets to individuals to help them in making fraudulent and bogus claims of political asylum for visas for Europe and USA. I know all of that. Number 7 point, in this day and age of social media, the Military Election Commission of Pakistan must look into the social media popularity of a political party. A genuine political party must have at least a few 100,000 bona fide followers. That criteria needs to be looked at. Point number 8. During the next 50 days of the martial law, after a selection has been made of bona fide political parties, which I believe shall hardly be 8 or 10, the Military Election Commission of Pakistan must give opportunity to the people of Pakistan to listen to the manifestos of these parties and witness public debates of candidates. This is what the civilized world does. And number 9, in order to get the best leadership for Pakistan and to provide best leadership to Pakistan, you must abolish the 2-year rule that precludes a former government servant or a retired army officer or a general from being a candidate for a political office. This Military Election Reforms Commission, it must promulgate orders, such orders that limit these professional thugs to become parliamentarians. Look how the great Ayub Khan did this. United States of America is a great example of how every 4 years the public is given the opportunity to see the leadership skills and manifesto of each presidential candidate. A process of debates that are televised and broadcast for a period of almost more than 6 months. It gives the candidates the opportunity to speak. And through a sincere and civil dialogue, people are able to learn a lot about their candidates, and people are able to select their leader. The foundation of this great American political process was laid down by the great military general, General George Washington and his comrades. Pakistan's Military Election Commission, Pakistan's Military Election Reforms Commission owes a similar obligation to the people of Pakistan. This is the cry of the hour. Set up the martial law, establish the martial law, proclaim the martial law now before the elections. After the elections, it will be a blunder. Thank you.
निज़ाम लाएंगे ऐसा, ये है यकीन हमें। निज़ाम लाएंगे ऐसा, ये है यकीन हमें। बुलंदियों पे करेगा, बुलंदियों पे करेगा खुदा का दीन। लाएंगे ऐसा, ये है यकीन। हो जो भी जैसा जहाँ पर गले लगाना है, मुहब्बतों की ज़मीन पर उसे बुलाना है। ये दर्स देता है अल्लाह का आईन हमें। निज़ाम लाएंगे ऐसा, ये है यकीन हमें। सभी ने सब का यहाँ पर ख्याल रखना है। खलूस का ये ताल्लुक बहाल रखना है। खुदा ने बख्शी है चाहत की सरजमीन हमें। निज़ाम लाएंगे ऐसा, ये है यकीन हमें। हमें जहान में रोशन चराग बनना है। हर एक बात को सुनना है और समझना है। माहौल ऐसा बनाना है बस हसीन हमें। निज़ाम लाएंगे ऐसा, ये है यकीन हमें। जहां में मोहब्बत को आम करना है। रकू सजूद को लेकर कयाम करना है। फिर इसका अज्र मिलेगा वो बेहतरीन हमें। निज़ाम लाएंगे ऐसा ये है यकीन फलाए नोए बशर बस करेंगे दुनिया में। हकूक़े इंसान की जंगें लड़ेंगे दुनिया में। ज़माना जानेगा सालिक वक़्त ज़हीन हमें। निज़ाम लाएंगे ऐसा ये है यकीन हमें। निज़ाम लाएंगे ऐसा ये है यकीन हमें। बुलंदियों पे करेगा, बुलंदियों पे करेगा खुदा का दीन हमें। निज़ाम ला